So this is cool. This trickle of water bubbling up from the rock is the start of the UK's fourth longest river, the River Wye. From here it goes on a journey across England and Wales and all the way to the sea at Chepstow in the River Severn estuary. And I'm going to be following it over the next week, hiking, cycling and on stand-up paddleboard. Thankfully, it's all downhill from here. Clean, fresh, cold, delicious. I am so excited for the next week. So our journey, mine and the rivers, starts high here in the Welsh Cambrian Mountains. From here it's going to travel 250 kilometres across England and Wales, right to the sea. I've cycled around the world and sailed across an ocean and done all these adventures in distant and exotic locations. But COVID has put a stop to all that. But I've got a sneaking suspicion, a little hunch, that adventure was always right here on my own back door. Come on, let's go. Here we are in one of Wales' most wild landscapes, and it's amazing to see the way the river brings so much life to it. There's birds coming down to feed, there's sheep and flowers and mosses. It's really quite an amazing place to be. This is really what nature sounds like. It's just the sounds of the river, sheep bleating, birds singing. There's not a single man-made sound. There's no televisions, there's no phones, there's no cars. In fact, there's no other people. It's just me and the mountains and the river. So I've had a really bizarre COVID lockdown experience. When it hit in March 2020, I found myself on a tiny 1 kilometre long Norwegian island right up in the Arctic. There were only 4 other residents. There was Ara the artist, Odd and Nina, the fisherman, and Anna, the retired trumpet player. And I ended up quarantined there, stuck there. And so for 5 months I called this little slab of rock 30 kilometres out at sea my home. And it was wonderful. Change came so quickly in the Arctic. When I arrived it was almost 24 hours darkness, and when I left it was almost 24 hours sunshine. And I think that's what forced me to slow down and really notice one place over a longer period of time and develop a community around me. Before that I'd been travelling almost frantically for about 5 years, rarely staying in the same place for more than a couple of nights. And that was thrilling to travel that widely, but I don't think I was travelling that deeply. I wasn't getting under the surface. I was just getting a snapshot of a particular place at a particular time. And then since then, after Norway, I was forced to come back to the UK. I ended up working in a hospital as a temperature checker, checking people that were coming into the hospital. And I had job security, but almost no satisfaction or fulfillment. I didn't like to complain because really I was quite lucky. But I did feel like something that was so important to me, this element of travel, this adventurous aspect, the unpredictability of my life was totally stripped away. And I found that really hard. But looking back, it actually reaffirmed what is important to me and why it is important to me. And so the moment COVID was lifted and the restrictions were removed or eased, I was straight back out there. I guess I've got a renewed curiosity. I've got a renewed excitement to come and explore. And at the moment I am limited to the UK because international travel hasn't fully resumed. But that's fine, because after my 1 kilometre island in Norway, I think there's enough to keep me occupied here in the UK for a long, long time. My mind is literally bursting at the seams with all these new projects and adventures and trips and places I want to see and means of travel and adventures I want to have. So I've hiked 19 kilometers now, and the river, which started right at these mountains at the back, has now had a really steep, tumultuous downhill section. It's lost half its height already, and it's emptied into this wide, open, tranquil valley. I think I now need to find a faster mode of transport. I've struggled with adventure because it has come at the expense. It's sacrificed my time with family and with friends, people that I love and that love me. And I've made so many new friendships throughout the years, throughout my travels, but they're so ephemeral. They pass so quickly. They're someone that you stay a night with. They're someone that you stop for a cup of coffee or chai with. They're people that you spend 3 months sailing across the Indian Ocean with, but they come and go, and I find it really hard to maintain these friendships all over the world. And so I've kind of got this clash between I want to go off and do these awesome adventures, but also friends and family and the people I love are really important to me. And I guess in a way adventure is a really selfish thing to do. It does mean that you have to go off and say, I want to do this because I want to do this. And so that's caused a great internal conflict over the years. I remember loneliness or solitude, they're kind of similar but different. It's something that I've really battled and was definitely the hardest thing about all my trips actually. Even this one, getting into my tent alone. I do sometimes think, oh, I wish there was someone here to share this awesome sunset or this amazing night sky with. And so that's why I'm really trying to work out a way to balance both these things so I can do the things that are important to me, but also have the relationships that are going to give my life such meaning and satisfaction. And I think that's a lot of where the joy comes from me, trying to find a balance between those two things. But it's definitely an internal frustration that is constantly rubbing against each other. So I'm here in Glaisbury, and it's now 24 hours since we're at the source of the River Wye. And since then I've hiked 20 kilometers and cycled 60 kilometers. The cycling was harder than I expected. I haven't ridden a bike in a couple of months, and it was really hilly. So my legs have taken a bit of a battering, and I'm excited and ready to get on the water. I've been looking down at it in the valley, but now I can finally pump up the paddleboard. It's deep enough, and head out onto the water itself. I'm really excited about this section. So for the next 160 kilometers, I'm going to be on the river itself, paddling my way slow and steady down the rapids. There's a few, but mostly the nice soft, gentle current that cuts through some Welsh countryside, and soon I'm actually going into England. Now I've cycled a long way before and I've hiked a long way before, but the furthest I've ever paddled is 10 kilometers. So this is definitely a little bit outside my comfort zone, but that's actually a good thing. I think adventure is all about getting out your comfort zone, not knowing if I can paddle all the way to Chepstow at the sea, and then hopefully the challenges and obstacles that will come in my way, and of course the reward if I do eventually make it. So yeah, for the next 160 kilometers, I'm going to be on this board. I'm guessing it's going to take 4 days, but as I've never really used one very much, that's only a guess. It could be longer, it could be quicker. It hasn't rained in a little while, so the river isn't as fast as it normally would. There might be some shallow sections where I have to get out and pull it through, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. I am absolutely excited. I can't believe how wide the river has become. This is now the furthest I've ever supped, 10 kilometers. There's still a long 150 kilometers to go, but if you can do 10, you just need to keep repeating it, hey? So I've just crossed from Wales back into England, and it's sunnier already. Oh, it's quite nice. I mean, the English side is obviously nicer than the Welsh. No, I'm joking. Yeah, there was nothing to market, no international border yet. So we're just in a little pub that marks the border. It's called the first house in England. And yeah, I'll cross back into Wales before the end of the trip, of course. But there's a little way to go in England first. You know, sometimes there's nowhere I'd rather be. Of course, sometimes I'd rather be anywhere else, but right now, this is pretty perfect. It's 6 o'clock on June the 1st, so the nights are really long. The sun is still high in the sky, and I've still got several more hours of paddling to go, probably in me. Oh, let me just duck under this tree. What a place. So I just fell in for the first time. At least I'm not hot anymore. There was a little rapid here that pushed you right close to the bank. And yeah, it just tipped an edge and I was in. Oh, never mind. So I'm going to begin looking for somewhere to camp now. Of course, typically, the banks have suddenly gone steep, whereas before there were lots of nice shallow little beaches and grassy plateaus where I could have camped, but I'm sure I'll find somewhere shortly. It's still not too late, I've still got time. Still got a couple of hours of daylight left. So I've just got my campsite for the night, and I've got my own private beach. How cool is that? This rain is actually pretty refreshing. Still, the one good thing about the rain is that it will make the river faster. If this is going all the way up the river, what is it, 120 kilometers that I've already paddled. Oh, I'm going into a tree while I'm talking to you, not paying enough attention. Yeah. If this is going all the way up the 120 kilometers that I've already traveled, this is going to quite quickly cause the river level to rise and then get a little bit faster. That's good news. So travel is something that I'm totally addicted to, travel and adventure, and it was the thing I missed most during COVID. It was, I think, after 6 years of full-time travel, it's something that I need just to be me and just to continue with the status quo almost. And so I don't want to have to go off on these 3-year-long trips cycling around the world to satisfy my need for adventure, because I've also seen the damaging side of adventure in the way that I've lost friendships, lost contacts, and lost a lot of community and stability. And so this was kind of an experiment in finding out whether I can satisfy my addiction to travel and adventure without those sacrifices, while maintaining stability and friendships and not having to go off for long periods to the other side of the globe. And I think it's managed to do that. This little micro adventure has been enough to return me to who I am. It's been enough to create some experiences and memories that I think will last a long time. It's introduced me to a new part of the country that I wasn't familiar with, that I found really exciting. And yeah, just the daily unpredictability, that was enough. So this is the 100-kilometer marker. I cannot believe I've paddled 100 kilometers, and all in about 2.5 days. So I'm pretty happy, pretty impressed actually. And also how effortless it's been. It's obviously I've got a bit of flow, but I'm having to do quite a lot of work. But this is a good way to get around on one of these SUPs. I'm sure there's going to be many more adventures in the future on these. In fact, while I'm paddling, my mind is just coming up with new places to take it, or new places for it to take me. Alrighty, here we go. Well, that was fun. We did it. It was just a few big waves really, but that was a lot of fun. Who says you can't do white water on a SUP? They're lying. I wish you could see and stand where I am. I wish you could hear the birds. This place is just so incredible. Look at it. I honestly didn't know there were places like this in England and Wales. Wow. Well, this is quite simply one of the most amazing camping spots I've ever had. I'm on this little island. If I come out, you'll be able to see that it is an island. There you go. So I slept on this little island with Wales on one side and England on the other in international waters. And oh, it was so peaceful to hear the trickle of water throughout the night, and just to know that I wasn't going to be disturbed, that I wasn't going to wake the neighbours. Although actually, a big gaggle of geese landed right on the tip of the island, and they were so noisy last night. I had to get out and shoo them away. I felt a bit bad because it's probably their island more than it is mine. But I also needed my sleep. But yeah, what a place and what a morning to wake up for my final day on the River Wye. So I'm now in the tidal zone, so it's no longer flowing like a river. It's coming in and coming out, coming in and coming out, like with the tides. It's currently 2.5 hours before high tide, so the tide is coming in against me. So it's really hard paddling. It's like paddling uphill. But if I can make it out, then maybe I'll make it right round the coast and into Bleachley. And I've stopped paddling and the board has turned around to head back upstream, or down tide, or whatever the phrase is. So I'd better put the camera down and start paddling again. This last section is really tough. Beautiful surroundings, but you've just got this swell and the wind is coming in, still battling the incoming tide. There is Chepstow Castle. We're nearly there. Final push. So I'm here in Chepstow, just finished 160 kilometers of paddling down the River Wye, over the moon to have made it. It was absolutely stunning. But as you can see, we're not quite at the sea. This just happens to be the last point to take the sup out of the water. And beyond here, it's just mud and a little bit dangerous with crazy channels and currents as we reach the Severn Estuary. So from here, just for the last 5 kilometers, I'm gonna hop back on the bike and finally make it to the sea. So this is the Wye emptying out into the Severn Estuary, and then the sea. There's always something pretty satisfying about reaching the end of a road, the end of a river, and realizing that you can go no further. The river's journey is complete and my journey is complete. And now it's time for a period of reflection, kind of. It's only been 4.5 days since I set off to try and find adventure in England and Wales on my doorstep, and I've been surprised by what I found. It's been so beautiful, it's been so wild and rugged. It's an area I thought I was familiar with. I thought I was familiar with the people, but time and time again I've been surprised by the landscape, the beauty, the people, and just how much adventure you can have right here. I've had 4 nights of fantastic camping, 20 kilometers of scenic hiking, 60 kilometers of scenic cycling, and then 160 fantastic kilometers stand-up paddleboarding down the River Wye, which just seemed to get better and better as the river went on. Or maybe it's that I sunk into a routine and I began to get used to the day-to-day joy of paddling 40 kilometers every day and then setting up camp. It was a simple lifestyle. It was a simple routine. It was tough. I did find it really challenging at times, but there's been enough rewards that have made it very worthwhile, and I'm glad I did it, and I'd do it again. I think anyone can have an adventure in the UK. I think you could pick any river and do exactly what I've just done. Follow it from the source to the sea and learn the river story. A river is a story. I've seen it change from the high mountains where it was barren and just a trickle out of a rock. Then it went through farming country, and then it went through forest, and all the time more streams were joining it, and it was getting wider and deeper and faster. And then today, right at the end, I saw a seal. Suddenly the seagulls outnumbered the ducks. The water began to taste a little bit salty. There was deep mud and the river was rising and falling with the tides. And then the river emptied out into the sea. That is an adventure, that is a journey. But I think you can pick any adventure is different for different people. It's all about where your own comfort zone is. So for some people, going for a walk outdoors will be an adventure. But I think you can pick any river and travel it, any mountain and travel it, any stretch of coastline. Go and camp outside. Go and do something that excites you and excites your curiosity and also scares you a little bit. And I think that's an adventure. Cool. Let's get out of it. Thanks very much. Trip finished.